Welcome to episode 7 of series 2 of our OR Talks podcast. Today we are joined by Julian, one of our partners, and Dina, one of our senior managers, to discuss all things small business. Here are your hosts, Neil Seeger
and Mark Jovanovic.
We are today privileged to be joined by Julian Dyer and Dina O'Brien, two accounts, client-facing people within our company. Hello, Julian.
Hello, Neil. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, doing very well, thank you. Not too bad.
Hello, Dina.
Hello.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, Neil.
So today we are discussing small businesses and sort of local businesses, really sort of targeted more towards the smaller end today. Just a discussion point, really, and really where do we start if we're looking to start a business and what's out there. So what sort of type of businesses are out there? What sort of type of small businesses are out there, Julian?
Well, myself and Dina, we work from the office here in Bromsgrove, and predominantly we see mainly small to medium-sized companies within the Bromsgrove area, South Birmingham area. As you know, Bromsgrove is a very, very vibrant business area within Worcestershire. There's lots of trading estates throughout the area, and we're very fortunate. We probably look after a very, large chunk of these businesses throughout Bromsgrove. Especially this year, for some reason, we've seen a lot of new clients. These are clients that have either transferred from other local practices, or also we've taken on lots of new setups, which is really, really positive to see, considering that we've just literally come out of a pandemic, September 22. So there seems to be a bit of more appetite for people to look at starting in their businesses. So we've seen quite a few over the 2023 so far, I must admit, haven't we?
Yeah, I think the pandemic did that, didn't it? It gave people a chance to look at what they could do for themselves. It gave people who were on furlough, for instance, a chance to look at setting up their own business.
I think people got used to almost working from home, enjoying the flexibility of starting when you want and finish when you want, and thought, well, I can do this. And because they probably didn't go on holiday or couldn't go on holiday or didn't spend as much money as they would do generally throughout a normal year, then they thought, well, I've got a few quid behind me, so I fancy having a go at X, Y, and Z, and they seem to have done that, and it's positive, isn't it?
We've seen quite a lot of well-being businesses being set up on the back of COVID as well. So there might be small, there may be like yoga retreats or female clubs where people get together and talk about their mental health, as well as other sidelines that can go along with that, holistic therapies, that sort of thing.
It's quite a buzz at the moment, isn't it? Mental health, as you know, and what have you. So there's a few of our clients that have set up in business that are going down that route of mental health and well-being and retreats and yoga and everything else. So
there's still quite a lot of personal trainers coming through as well.
Yes. Obviously I haven't got my books, you can tell.
Mark benefited very much.
You can breathe out.
Are those predominantly like small limited companies or sole traders?
It varies, because obviously when when a new client comes to see either myself or Dina or somebody else on the phone, then a lot of the time they don't actually know what structure they want to be. Do they want to be a sole trader? Do they want to? Are they on their own, or have they got a partner? So do they want to be a partnership, limited liability partnership, or limited companies? Predominantly, the advice that I give, especially again post-pandemic, is you always want to consider being a limited company. We're all accountants and tax experts sat around this table. We knew how the tax breaks involved in being a limited company pre-April 16 by obviously taking out dividends that were exempt from any form of tax. Obviously, the government eventually cottoned on to what people were doing, and so, as we know now, there's a tax on the dividends you take out. However, it's still slightly, in my opinion, more beneficial to be a limited company tax-wise. But for me, it's the limited liability it gives you as a director, and the protection that if anything does go wrong, then it's just peace of mind that any of your personal wealth or your assets or your home is not at risk, because this limited company gives this ring fence around you that protects you from the outside world, from any nastiness, I guess. So I always go down the route, look at being a limited company for those reasons.
So from a protection and a tax point of view, is that
the tax benefits of being a limited company is the corporation tax rate is slightly low, but obviously that's increasing from April this year. And in year one, you do pay your corporation tax 9 months in arrears of your financial year end. But obviously, if you do take out dividends, then they are taxable, and therefore that potentially you might end up paying tax on your self-assessment up front. But that's that's what we're here for. That's the complicated stuff, that's what we're good at, and that's what we can help and advise with, really.
And that's where Mark's nice little strap line comes in, which is about £4, isn't it, Mark?
It is, yeah. It's always better to be prepared, isn't it? Put a plan in place rather than being reactive.
Yeah. Cheers, Mark. I thought you were going to go on and say a bit more then.
Well, we get that a lot, don't we? People go off and set up their own business, whether it be just out on their own or as a company, then they come to us with the tail between their legs 9 months later and go, oh, I've got to pay some tax now, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And actually, if they'd come to us at the outset, we might have told them to do it a completely different way and save them a fair bit of money. So obviously, it all depends on how much, what the pound signs are, but
Yeah.
Yes.
It's definitely better to be proactive than reactive.
It's not just purely tax. That's the important thing to know.
Yeah.
Accountants aren't. We don't just worry about. It's not just tax that we worry about. It actually does that vehicle, whether it's sole trader limited company, actually fit what you're looking to achieve from your business. Because actually, there's no point having something that's a limited company if actually it doesn't really fit the thing you're trying to achieve. Does it? So if you're, the one thing I'm trying to say really is, does your industry affect whether you're a sole trader or a limited company, or could it affect?
Potentially, because you always got the risk of obviously IR35 and what have you. But it can be horses for courses. But I personally, that 90% of the new business that we take on, we would look at advising they are a limited company. Look, we all turn on TV at 9:30 in the morning. You see these no win, no fee.
Yeah.
The advert with a woman stepping in the bucket and falling over. These firms, these legal firms, no win, no fee, and you just don't know who you're dealing with and who you're working for.
Absolutely.
So for me, protection is top of the list nowadays. It has to be, because you just don't know what's going on the outside world. So 90% of the clients that we see that come in who want us to in business, then we advise that they are limited company predominantly for those protection reasons.
And the limited companies come, some industries have grants applicable to them and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Is there a better bearing normally on sole trader or a limited company, or actually the grants, I suppose, don't?
I don't think the grants make much difference. Myself and Dina have got some really good contacts and relationships with local grant experts within Bromsgrove and Worcestershire. I had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with a guy from Bromsgrove. It's very, very difficult to talk about grants when you see a new client, because as all four of us know, they change on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It literally can be right place, right time. So generally, if a new client's looking for a startup grant or some matched funding or something, then I'll make an introduction to one of the people that we know within the area, and hopefully they get some funding accordingly. But it does, as we know, you can advise on some solar panel funding tomorrow, and it'll be funded be pulled today. So it is difficult. We do have some good contacts that we can.
And that's another beauty, isn't it? And actually, that's another thing. Why would you, if you're a sole trader, why would you use an accountant and not just do it yourself? Well, that's just an example there, right there. And that's not a tax measure, that's a contacts measure, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We've got plenty of contacts within the industry, and within here at Ormond Rutter, as we know, we employ over 220, 230 staff members, and we've got some very, very clever individuals that work within our different departments, personal tax, corporate tax, audits, accounts, that we can help with pretty much anything, and that's what we're good at, and that's why we're here. It's our expertise and our knowledge that can help you.
Yeah.
Also, within the realms that we're governed by, we'll make sure you're as tax efficient as possible, and also we'll make sure you're compliant. Compliance is a massive thing for us.
Definitely.
Me personally, the one thing I do hate to see when I take on a new client from another firm of accountants is VAT fines, VAT surcharge, PAYE fines.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you say to the guys behind the desk, "What's this for?" And said, "Oh, well, I just did something on return on time." Well, why not?
Yeah.
And I've seen sets of accounts with tens of thousands of fines on there, and it's certainly a pet hate of mine. It's not necessary.
It's avoidable, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's our job. And with the software and technology that we invest in, then we could, that doesn't need to happen. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah, you do hear that quite a lot. The people are happy. They just go, "Oh, the accountants pay the fine," or I've had to pay the fine. They just accept it. But then I'm the same as you. When I look at that, and I go, "Well, why? How is that acceptable to not to submit that?" I mean, sometimes obviously there is certain reason why that's happened.
Yes.
But actually,
sometimes it is the client's fault, but
yeah. But more cases than not, it's actually because people just go, "There's my books." sort it, and that's it. And that's what, you know, definitely the smaller side of businesses, you know, predominantly do. And there's my stuff. And if you can't submit it on time, but actually we pride ourselves on not doing that.
Yeah, and that's why in January and December and January, it's self-assessment deadline month, that people around this table and throughout the firm work virtually 24/7 to ensure that clients don't get a fine. Even if it's only £100, it doesn't matter. The figures are irrelevant. We still somehow by hook or by crook we get them done by working throughout the night, don't we? So
we don't like the word fine.
No.
Don't like the word fine at all. It's a pet hate of mine. The word fine.
Me too.
Unless something's fine, then it's all right. But if it's a fine, I don't like fine.
You still have a fine one, brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wow, I don't hear that very often, to be honest. But yeah, don't get the violins out yet. It's all right. But you know, so when we're looking at why use a professional, I think, you know, Julian, you just sort of alluded to it. It's more sort of tax efficiency within our guidelines as well. Actually, there's costs that, you know, people, you know, don't include within their books and records that they could.
Yes.
You know, or they don't think it's a business a cost or whatever, and they miss that. And actually, they've done a tax on themselves, and they've saved themselves a little bit of an accountancy cost. But actually, it's probably cost them more in tax.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's experience, isn't it? So none of us around the table know everything, but between us, we've got 4 of us that have experience.
I don't know everything.
That's how it is, isn't it? As a team, we've got so much experience. So there's things that we won't come across that someone else in the team would have done. So.
Well, that's good. Sorry, Dina, that's good because we do, you know, look, I speak to you all quite a bit because I've got my knowledge and you've got your knowledge, and every now and then I need to ask you something that you'll come back and say, oh yes, you can do this and no, you can't do that. And collectively we all learn from that and enhance our own knowledge and ability. And by enhancing our own knowledge and ability, we then pass that on to our clients to enhance their knowledge and ability. So it's you know, we are a big happy family and a community that we just look after everybody, don't we, really?
Yeah.
Knowledge sharing, isn't it? It's all knowledge sharing. And actually, we've spent years getting to where we are, learning that knowledge. It's not like we've just picked up a textbook and read it and gone, oh yeah, that'll do. You know,
we wouldn't apply next year.
Oh yeah, they've changed it.
Well, it changes every day.
Yeah.
You know, every day it changes all the time, doesn't it? You know, I remember in my youth, going back many years, I could memorise every tax allowance, every national insurance allowance, class 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I just haven't got the capacity in my brain to do it. But you know, you just learn that knowledge, and it's almost parrot fashion. But it changes. You know, through COVID again. I don't want to keep talking about COVID, but it changed every day, didn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the furlough, the bounce back loan, the sea bills, everything changed every day, and we were literally on the phone 24/7 to clients, answering 101 different questions on a regular basis. But we learn that knowledge, don't we? And that's what we're good at, isn't it? That's what we're very good at.
So in the last year, we had 3 budgets, didn't we?
Yeah.
Changed everything every time, didn't it? So you put a plan in place, and then you do it.
And once the Labour government gets in, if they do get in, if there is a general election in the future, then it's going to change completely, and then we have to go again, don't we?
So it's constantly changing, isn't it? That's the thing. It's always changing.
It is, and we're not just a firm of accountants who will just sit and prepare a set of accounts or a tax return. It is important that you take on this tax advice. It does change all the time, and we do try and be as proactive as we can do. And we're fortunate, probably 80% of our clients are quite proactive with us as well. So they will ask us up front for a conversation about forthcoming tax changes, super tax 130%, and research and development maybe. So they do take on board the advice we give them, and then hopefully they follow it through.
And the one thing that sort of I see dealing with a lot of small businesses is that we're quite unique in the fact that we sit down and talk to our clients about those problems, about those their tax return, their set of accounts, those sort of things. Sit down and actually talk to them about it. If they understand a small amount of the client, then that's great, isn't it? Because then that's a bit more informed management from asking us more questions. But I pick up a lot of business from accountants that they've never spoke to these clients before. They just literally send them a copy of the accounts and that's it. It's done. And the tax bill, and then don't explain it. But then actually, how are you then ever going to know to ask those questions to your accountant if your accountant doesn't talk to you?
It's equally then sending them out with that meeting with an idea of where they could take their business forward as well. It's not just about tax. It's actually, these figures could mean you might not be able to invest in this or go off and try a different angle with their business and help it grow.
Exactly.
It's not just about, oh, there's your figures and that's how much tax you owe, which I think a lot of them express to us is what they've had before.
And I've been doing it long enough now that I'm getting to the stage I'm seeing a chunk of my clients now, going through the process of selling the businesses or having management buyouts and what have you. It's kind of, you think back, you think, 20 years ago, they were turning over £50,000 and making £30,000 and being really happy. Now they're looking at selling the business for £1, 2, 3, 4, £5 million. You think, gosh, I've been
Amazing.
with me and the team here at my Rudge have been part of that expansion process. And as we all say, acorns into oak trees, and it's great to see. Now they're coming out the other end at 50, 55, 60, whatever age they are, and selling the business. But they sometimes send the business to family members within the organisation, so it's a continuation of business again as well. So it's great to see, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that the lovely thing for someone to hear, listening to this? That was something lovely, because actually, we're talking about small business or whatever, but actually that can actually happen, and we can facilitate that and be part of that journey all the way from, sort of incorporation all the way through to business sale.
It does happen. We could write a list now, probably between 50, I don't know, might want to edit this figure, 50 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 500, whichever figure you want to use, clients that we've been involved with that have sold the businesses.
And help them grow along that point. And help them grow along that through that point. That's such an inspiring thing, though, isn't it? To hear how it's gone. Big companies do actually go from an acorn all the way up to an oak tree. Yeah. And
at times we just aren't their accountants. We are their financial controller, their financial director, their HR support, their admin support. That we've got a very, very good relationship with all of our clients, and we are very, very hands-on. I think that's why our clients do love us so much, and why we do attract new clients, because they know that we will hold their hand through any issues, and we will give them the right advice. We will help them from day one, and that's what we're very good at. Whether it be small startups from day one, or new clients that we take on board that have been in operation for many, many years.
Yeah, so there, and actually just going back to the contacts point of view as well, when we're looking at those options, buyouts, financial advice, all those sort of things, obviously not financial advisors, we can give you the advice on the financial control elements, but not financial advice. So when clients looking at pensions and all those sort of things, well, who do you go to? Well, actually, as long as you get the I just like to get the yellow pages out, but you get the idea. You get the start searching around. Actually, are those financial advisors any good? Because there are good ones and bad ones, like anything. But actually, if that person's going to take your cash and not invest it right, then actually, we can refer people that are trustworthy and we've worked with before.
We've all got good contacts, haven't we? I think everyone in the firms have really good contacts we do use on a regular basis.
And that builds the community, the local community as well. These are local people. They're not big firms that we're necessarily dealing with. They're smaller people that are actually within the community. And if you're part of a small business community as well, say Bromsgrove, for example, you know that person who knows that person, knows that person, and actually you've built a little network. Yeah.
For me, two also points of discussion regarding new businesses setting up. It's obviously you need to open a bank account. That's very important. The amount of clients that I see that have already started self-employment and trading through their personal account. You'd be surprised how many that is to start with. So it is important you open a business bank account, so you can differentiate between personal expenses and business expenses.
Yes.
And nowadays the advice that I give and what Dina gives is certainly to look at the online bank accounts. There's some really, really slick online bank accounts. I think that's the way the banking world will eventually be. So the likes of Tide are very good, Starling are very good, Monzo are very good. And Revolut, Revolut, they also deal with international transfers and currency. So those four banks I would certainly recommend. And I think I set one up the other day with a client of mine, and within 24 hours it was set up. And so it's very, very quick, and that's very important as a new business as well.
That's a very good point to note, actually, whether you're a limited company or a sole trader, that still stands for both, doesn't it?
Yes.
It is important. And you have those lot of pie charts, don't you, on a lot of them now, which show where you're spending your money.
Yeah.
And actually, how many times I'll get asked quite regularly, I'm sure you guys do as well. Where have I spent my money? Where has my money gone? Well, actually, you can categorise it. I know like Monzo, for example, you can categorise it as groceries or purchases or whatever, and that's it. Before you know it, you can see where the majority of your money's going.
And also these new online banks, they connect very well with the accounting software, because again, that's something else that we're hands-on with, aren't we, with our clients, the best software for your business. We're rapidly moving away from the old sales ledgers and purchase ledgers and Excel spreadsheets, and we are moving more electronically, and these banks do work well with the software that we work with. My favourites, obviously Xero, I think is fantastic. You know, we're platinum partners here on
Yeah,
Water,
we are.
aren't we? So we work very, very well with Xero. All our staff are trained on Xero, even, you know, our tax team and what have you, we can all work Xero, and that works very, very well. Sage is very good as well. You know, that Sage has been a market leader for 20 years, 15 years now, and we work very efficiently with Sage. And then you've got the QuickBooks and the cash flows and the other ones that aren't
also there.
Yes, they also rise, but yeah, the beauty of these new banking facilities, they do work well with the accounting software, which, you know, as we know, makes life easier for our clients, because the information is automatically transferred from the bank feed into the software feed, so you don't have to sit there and write down or type into an Excel spreadsheet what you spent that month, because the software will do it for you.
Yeah, saves a lot of admin time for them.
Hell of a lot.
Saves them lots of time, but also feeds in nicely to us, so
Yeah.
that they don't have to spend time collating their data to send in. It's just, you know, everybody works at a million miles an hour these days, don't they? So I think it's just a time saving thing all around.
Yeah, they should be spending time on what they're good at.
Yeah.
And that's it. And we spend time on what we're good at, and they should be spending time on what they're good at, not necessarily worrying too much about keeping decent books and records, even though, you know, we know they have to.
Yeah, the computer does the legwork for you. Fantastic. From a client point of view. Gone are the days of typing into Sage, the desktop one.
You can do it on mobile phones now anyway.
Yeah, we can do all the apps.
A lot of it can be done at the touch of a button. So
I think that's two top tips we got there, really, isn't it? From effectively, if you're looking to start a business up, you know, get your bank account is a really good one. Actually, be on the software is also a really good, you know, good two top tips, really.
You get an accountant.
You get an accountant, three top tips. You know, they're really the ones that, you know, once you've got a client on, generally it's, well, do you recommend a bank? Do you work with a bank? Or whatever? And actually, those online ones that Julian Dyer says are fantastic.
I don't know about you guys, but I get asked a lot about insurances. Do they need it? What do they need it for? What who would we recommend? Those kind of questions, and obviously compliance wise, if they need registrations for certain things as well, depending on what the trade is. So they've got an idea, but actually they don't, you know, we don't just do financials, do we? You know, we can help them in all areas of business. If we don't do it, that's fine, but we can usually help them navigate what they need to do. So it's a good platform, I think, before you do anything, speak to an accountant. You'd
be surprised how many new businesses don't realise they need insurance or liability insurance. You know, for a couple of £100 it could save you a small fortune. So it's very important that they do, you know, have insurance when they set up from day one, really, isn't it?
And that's where those conversations, when you first get together with a client, or you first start a business and get together with an accountant, those are really important conversations to have. Because actually, as Julian said, save you a small fortune. If you get those wrong, it can really cost you a fortune. If you're a sole trader, obviously, as Julian said, then your personal assets could potentially be at stake. Yeah. Any other hot top tips that anyone's got?
I would just say really them building up a network as well in their own area, as well as similar like businesses, what they're doing. Do some research into others doing similar things so they can be bigger and better than their competitors. As well. Yeah, in their area, you know, what's their client base, what's the postcode narrative, you know. Just little tips we can give them to go off and do themselves to help them promote themselves a bit better, obviously advertising, that sort of thing.
Your marketing, your marketing side of things. And I think, just sort of, we were saying a couple of times about our contacts and our network. It's exactly the same as from a new business point of view, isn't it? It's always, where do you get your first contact from? How do you start? That's always a difficult thing. I know it was when I was, starting to, get to close to clients and all that sort of stuff. It's all, where do you build your network? And actually, it's just time, isn't it? Yeah. Just time and putting yourself out there and
speaking to people, isn't it?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's also worth looking at what other people are doing as well, what your competitors are doing, other people in the same field, and spotting an opportunity from there.
A bit of market research.
Yeah, it's really important. Marketing and promotion from day one is who your competitors are and what you get over the market to, and how you're going to market your products. Are you going to do it through a website? Are you going to do it through flyers through people's doors like the old days, or are you going to be pretty proactive on social media? We all sit around this table now. We know how powerful Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Threads.
Threads.
So, lots of our clients you see on social media platforms do exceptionally well. exceptionally well. So I think marketing, how you market your business from day one is also very important as well. Because you can see what your competitors, that's a beauty. You can see what your competitors are doing. So you can, you can look at how they're promoting their business, and then you can adapt yours to suit, can't you?
And it depends on your industry, doesn't it? It depends if you're targeting, a certain age or a certain industry or whatever. Then obviously that dictates how you advertise. Obviously, we're not an agency for advertising, but it's those sort of things that we have to consider, isn't it?
Yeah. I speak to my clients on a regular basis about how powerful social media is. And I must admit, some of them are taking on board, and some of them are doing actually quite well now because of their social media presence. Which is, it's massive. I was talking with a client yesterday, we're talking about their social media, and saying, look, if you go and sit at an airport, you're waiting for a plane for 2 hours, and you just look around the airport departure lounge, 80% of people are sat on their phone, and then there's a good chance they're looking at some form of social media.
Yeah.
So even if you just post something and they remember the name, whether it be All My Rutter or another, it doesn't matter. But just having that presence, I think, is very, very important. Yes. Look at our social media. That's improved over the past 2 years.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. It really, really is, because you have to. It's part of life now, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's brand awareness, isn't it? The more someone sees it, the more it'll remember and stay in there.
And it's predominantly free as well. Yes, you can boost the post and expand the post and spend a couple of quid, on advertising on the platform. But it's free if you want it. You know ourselves how many likes and hits we get on our social media. It's gone through the roof over the past 18 months. It's unbelievable.
And people like to now see what's behind the business, as in the people that are in the business. It's not just back when I was going, definitely it was looking down a web page and see what the person does, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Now it's people like to see more of what's going on with the business.
Yeah.
I see loads of videos. I've got a guy who goes out and does like Wi-Fi and does all that sort of side of things. Actually, he's put a video up going, look, do you know what? I've just put this fitting in here and whatever. And that's how it's amazing for the supplier. Yeah. But also, it's I never thought about that actually.
Yeah. That's a nice job. It's a tidy job there.
Yeah. So actually, it goes out, and I've seen loads more people putting videos of what they're doing out there. And
that's the best way to showcase your skills, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. You can't take someone around a building site and say, "Oh, I did," just film it and just put it on social media platforms, and that's the best. That has to be one of the best forms of advertising for me.
From what we know of our own social media posts, the more engaging ones are the ones with people in them, aren't they?
Yes.
People want to know who we are.
Yeah, it makes it more personable, doesn't it?
Yeah. And if they know your face before they even come to see you for the first time, it makes them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. I'll get that a lot of LinkedIn. A lot of people will know who they're coming to see. A lot of people will search me on LinkedIn before they come and see me. Yeah. And then they're like, I know you are, straight away. And I thought, and I never thought about that until someone said, oh, all right, Neil, how are you? Blimey, I've not met you before. I've met you before. And then you realise they've searched you on LinkedIn, and that's just the way the world is sort of heading now, I think.
Yeah, I agree, because if you think about your own personal internet activity, if you probably went back, say, 5 years, 80% of your internet activity would be probably websites.
Yeah.
And 20% social, 15% social, and 5% another. Now I'd imagine how many websites you actually go on nowadays.
You don't, do you?
You'd be surprised how many websites you don't go on.
Yeah.
And with algorithms and everything else and what have you nowadays, that you see you put social media on, talk about buying a beanbag, and there it is on your phone. It's mental. I've got about 30 beanbags around. But it is.
Now all I'm just a beanbag.
You just think how many websites you go on there.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many you don't go on.
You only really look at them if you want to find out the legitimacy of something, I find. If you find a really good ad on your socials coming through, I really like that product. Now I need to research that company, because let's be honest, it could be in China or somewhere, and you don't actually know if it's going to arrive.
They're all in China.
Do the research. But it doesn't mean they're not.
Because they price it right, it's $20, you buy it.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I tend to click onto their sites to see, and then look at like Trustpilot or something.
That's it.
That's
Trustpilot's a good thing, isn't it? Actually, being part of a small business, actually, people do check reviews.
Yes.
And those reviews mean an awful lot. You see it on the radio all the time, check a trailer and all that sort of stuff. And there's loads of others out there. But it's just those sort of things are really important. Your social media and your presence online is really important.
Well, you're advertising your business, you're advertising you.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing people see is you, isn't it? So it's important that first impressions. And we all know now, you look at the stats about the bounceability of people's websites, maybe that you've literally got under 5 seconds to engage with that person online. And if they don't like it, they just swipe and go somewhere else. You know, you've got to capture something. That's why you look at every ad that you see on Facebook. A lot of them just catch you straight away. So they have to.
If not, you scroll past it.
You just go to something else. Another top tip that we haven't mentioned is obviously in a new business venture is how you're going to finance the new business.
True. Yeah.
Because in the good old days, you could walk down to the bank and you could knock on the bank manager's door. They'd give you a £20,000 overdraft. They'd ask them too many questions, and away you go. As we know nowadays, that's not as accessible as it used to be. So I think it is important that people look at what it's going to cost them to set the business up, what it's going to cost them to run that business for the first few months, because even if you go and carry out some work for somewhere, there's a chance you might not get paid for 30, 60, 90 days. So it's important people understand what their financial requirements will be in the initial setup period. So they might need to go and borrow some money from the bank or borrow something from somewhere, put some money into the business from savings and what have you. So, you know, we do a fair bit of financial planning and cash flow forecasts and business plans, don't we? So that's quite important. The worst thing you want to do is run out of money after 3 months.
That's the thing you don't think about, isn't it, when it comes to it? You think as soon as you start thinking of this great idea, but actually, before you know it, you're completely blowing your budget. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But then actually getting those sort of things in place before you actually do kick off, and then actually get a, you know, sit down with us and figure out a plan of actually what have you got to spend, and then actually get the numbers right before you even step into it. As you say, you don't want to get 3 months in and completely run out of money.
That's coming to us is perfect for that as well. So the things that people won't realise they're going to have to pay for in that time. Unexpected things that we've got the experience of knowing, well, this is going to come up here, this is going to come up there. So it just helps them forecast.
And how you save for your tax? How do you save your tax?
What when's it due? And when's it due? When's my tax due? And my personal tax, my corporate tax. You know, PWD, benefit in kind tax. You know, when is that due? We can sit there and almost forecast a timeline of, right, this is when self-assessment's going to be due, January and July, corporation tax and so on. We can sit down and literally budget their tax spend over a period of time so that they can put it into the cash flow forecast or financial projections, can't they? No nasty shocks, really.
That's the worst thing, is that you get a nasty shock. You've suddenly got a few £1,000 tax bill, and you're thinking, well, hold on a minute, I just spent that on talks last week, it's the wrong tax year.
It's even a good idea to get them in the beginning to talk about those things, because equally there's ways we can save them money just by looking at things like their leases that they've signed into or they're about to, because there might be another way of doing that, or getting them to agree credit terms with their suppliers, but they might not have thought of doing. So, you know, just to move the cash flow in a certain favour for them. But I think a lot of them will jump in feet first and not really consider quite a lot of things that we just see all the time.
Well, don't forget, we see different industries as well. So we might actually see something that, you know, a glass maker's doing, for example, that actually would have worked really well for the foam manufacturer. You know, they'd link in quite well, even though they're different industries. Actually, they will, you know, you can use things. Actually, well, actually, I had someone in the other day, and actually they did this. Oh, I never thought about that. You know, it's actually having those things, because it is just one person setting the business, potentially, or two people, or whatever. But actually, they're not experienced in business really. When we've got the luxury where we have people got the experience and many different businesses.
We see it across the board, don't we?
Yeah, and obviously most work. We've seen some that don't work as well. But actually, if those things don't do that, because we saw someone a few years ago that didn't work. Actually, don't bother. You know, that's always quite useful.
And then there's the tax efficiencies of things like if they need to buy a van, or we can give them like advice of what sort of vehicles.
Because we still know
tax efficient things.
Once a month, once a week, we have the question: should I buy my vehicle? Should I lease it? Should I contract hire? Should I PCP it? Should I do this? Do that? I'm still confused now. But actually, we did get a document come through the week, didn't we? From one of the guys in the firm that was quite useful. So I kind of understand it a bit more now. But there's probably 8 different ways that you can buy a commercial vehicle or personal vehicle or business vehicle. So it's important they get that right, because it's the amount of times that the clients just go ahead and think they're doing it right, and then you come to the end of the year, actually that's not the most tax efficient route. So they need to speak to us and ask us. Will they do anything with the car?
And electric cars now as well, isn't it? There's another one in the equation.
Certainly.
It's a minefield, really.
It is a minefield. Which options right? Which vehicles right? Which whatever, because actually I do want to go buy myself a really nice Porsche. I really do. And I want to have that as my business vehicle. Well, actually that might not be the right way of doing things. It might be a better way of buying it. If you want that, then fine. Or actually certain industries you may be able to claim that, depends what you're doing.
Also, I think business name is important.
Yes. Yeah, I thought about that. We've got to these things.
Business name is important because that says a lot about your business.
Yeah.
So how you're going to market that name and how you can come up with a name that's going to be tells people either what you do or who you are. You know, a lot of people like to mention their name in the business.
Yeah.
But having a good business name and the proper structure is important from day one as well. And you got to be careful that obviously if you're forming a limited company that someone already hasn't got that name.
Words out my mouth, yeah.
You know what I mean? So you know, you've got lots of clients that have just bought the name and never traded it just to protect the name. And
the other thing I've seen people get wrong is they form a limited company with the right name, but then realise somebody else got the web domain.
Yes.
Yeah. Check the web domain.
The email address.
Or the email address. Exactly. Yeah. Because there could be somebody who's not incorporated who's actually got that thing. So always check those. That's all. I've seen a few people register a limited company and they say, "I change the name because the domain's not available." Oh, you wouldn't think about it. I mean, I never thought about it. And I thought, oh yeah, why do you think about that before? And you've got to be careful with the name as well. It can't be too similar to something else, because I had a client many years ago set a company up and it was Lego something. And he actually did receive a letter from Mr. and Mrs. Lego saying, you better change your name pretty quick. So they spot it. So they do spot it. There's software out there that's pick up for using some brands that's a bit close to somebody else. That's something to be mindful of. Yeah. And also intellectual property protection. Yeah. If they are involved some kind of unique invention, then maybe they should consider giving themselves that protection against that as well. So it can't be, we all watch Dragon's Den, don't we? So the first question is, about the IPP and what have you, is you applied for it and have a look at the documents, what have you. So again, if you're doing something unique, that's something to consider as well, isn't it? And that sort of type of things that comes with other tax saving measures, doesn't it? Like patents and all that sort of stuff. More tax. So that's one little thing can add on to many others that actually gives you potentially more tax savings than you potentially protects it and gives you more tax or less tax and more tax saving. Because the costs you can offset, can't you? Yeah, there's all kinds you can do with that. So it gets really complicated, but there's options there. So if people are talking to us about it, tries on it. So. Which comes a lot more to going back to us being close to clients and talking more. The more we talk, the more we find out. Exactly. Yeah. Now we can actually do more, help you more the more you tell us. Yeah, so I think to summarise, anybody that's setting up in business, it's very important you get the structure right from day one. Yeah, it's very important that you do take an accountant on board. Obviously, that's all my website. The preferred choice. We'll hold your hand through the whole process. We'll talk to you about everything we spoke about. The bank account formation, the software, the implementation, and we'll sit there and talk to you for an hour and a half and go through everything from A to Z that you want support with, and we'll do that. Yeah. Because then hopefully you'll leave our offices with the confidence that you've pretty much got everything you need to know, and all you need to then worry about is running your own business and making some profit and making some good money. Everything behind the scenes we will deal with, and we'll get everything set up for you, and we'll make sure you're compliant. But we'll also give you that ongoing tax advice that that our door's always open. We say to all of our clients, look, if you're not sure, just pick up the phone or drop us an email or send me a Snapchat or poke me on Facebook, and you're going to ask us once. Yeah. No matter how silly the question is, can I claim VAT on mileage? Whatever the question is, you're going to ask us once. Yeah. And then when you come to the end of the year, we know that what you've done is going to be correct because you've done it. We've advised you throughout the year, and that's part of the service we give. No question is a stupid question. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's it, isn't it? Ask, because actually, we ask questions, but in a different way, don't we? We ask each other questions. Whereas actually, all the time. Somebody alone, in business doesn't actually have that luxury. They can't just turn around and go, Julian, can I ask you about that one, please? That's what we do, isn't it? That's what we do. And I think it's important to remind people, actually, we're not scary. Actually, we'll make this a lot easier for you. Don't go out blind, because you end up costing yourself a fortune. Yeah. We want everyone to grow their business, don't we? Ultimately, we want to do it with them, so we're there to help. Yeah, we're really passionate about their business, and we try and look at their business like it's our business, don't we? We get everyone think about it. Actually, their success is our success equally, isn't it? So. Yeah, we're not the boring stuck in a back office accountants. We're very speak for yourself. Not well, what I mean. So we are though, aren't we? We're there, and actually we're more than happy to answer any questions and all that. Pick up the phone, please. You know, we'd rather that than have to tidy up something.
Look, times have moved on over the past 10 years. We're not just literally compliant accountants. You know, we are involved in these our businesses and our clients because we have to be. They need more and more support now because the way the world is and the way the world changes than they probably ever have done. So we are involved in their businesses from the outset. But that's what we're good at. That's actually what we like.
Yeah,
we enjoy doing that
massively.
You know, with technology now that accounts and tax can a good chunk of that can be looked after with technology. Whereas that gives us more time to be involved with our clients. And I enjoy it. I know you do. You three enjoy it. It's great because you feel part of the team.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
You feel part of the team, and they feel part of the Onward Rudder team. And it just works because we just look after them and hold their hands and watch their business grow and grow. It's fantastic, really.
You don't have that awkwardness going, I don't really want to talk. I don't really want to talk to them because actually they are part of our team and we're part of their team.
They become friends after time, don't they?
Yeah, I've made lots of good friends with lots of my clients. I must admit, so it's good.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So thanks for joining us today, and massive thanks to our two guests, Julian and Dina. We hope you found it interesting, and if you've got any questions on anything we've discussed today, drop us a WhatsApp on that number, Neil.
01905 777 600.
That's great. And next time we're going to be looking at OR in the community and how we get involved in the local area. So tune in then. Cheers.
Thank you.